Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. Coming up in the next hour. Israel bans the United Nations Agency for Palestinian Refugees from operating on its territory. US and other allies express concern. US says North Korea's entered Ukraine conflict by sending 10,000 troops to Russia. US decides not to impose new limits on Ukraine's use of arms. Anxiety grips the US as campaigning for the general elections enters the final week. Trump and Harris focus on pivotal battleground states that may decide the race for the White House. Big boost for India's healthcare sector. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to launch multiple projects on the occasion of 9th Ayurveda Day. And on to the details now. Israel passed a law on Monday banning the UN Palestinian Refugee Agency UNRWA from operating in the country. The lawmakers cited the involvement of some UNRWA staffers in the October 7, 2023 terrorist attack on southern Israel and for staffers having membership in Hamas and other armed groups. The ban, which enters into force in 90 days, would effectively prevent UNRWA from operating in Israel and also target its operations in East Jerusalem, where it currently provides some essential services such as cleaning, education and healthcare in certain neighborhoods. It is also feared that UNRWA employees in the West Bank could potentially face problems moving from one place to another as well as accessing East Jerusalem or Israel because they would lose their ability to coordinate with the Israeli authorities to cross checkpoints. The same fears apply to visas and permits delivered by Israeli authorities. Israel has called repeatedly for UNRWA to be disbanded with its responsibilities transferred to other UN agencies. The UN said in August that 9 UNRWA staff may have been involved in the October 7th assault and had been fired. Israeli lawmaker Sharon Haskell said if UN is not willing to clean this organization from terrorism, then they have to take measures.
So this legislation is disconnecting the relationship between Israel and between this organization. They will not be able to facilitate their activities or their infrastructures or their headquarters in Israel. If the United Nations is not willing to clean this organization from terrorism, from Hamas activists, then we have to take measures to make sure that they cannot harm our people ever again.
Well, Israel has faced heavy international pressure to do more to alleviate the humanitarian crisis in Gaza, though the ban does not refer to operations in the Palestinian territories or elsewhere. Before the legislation was passed, foreign ministers from France, Germany, Britain, Japan and South Korea, Canada and Australia issued a statement expressing grave concern. The US State Department said on Monday that it was deeply concerned by proposed legislation in Israel.
Passage of this legislation could have implications under U.S. law and U.S. policy. That remains the case. Look, UNRWA plays a critical, important role in delivering humanitarian assistance to civilians that need it in Gaza. That's not the only role they play. They play an important role providing services to Palestinians in the West Bank and throughout the region as well.
And now let us take a look at the establishment, working and criticism of the UNRWA. Well, UNRWA is the lifeline for Palestinians. It stands for United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine Refugees. This agency coordinates nearly all aid to Gaza. More than 220 of its staff have been killed since the October 7 terrorist attack in Israel by Hamas. UNRWA was established in December 1949 by UN General Assembly. It was followed by Israel's creation in May 1948. Though it began operations on May 1, 1950. It was tasked primarily with assisting 750,000 Palestinian refugees at that time. Also, this UN Agency for Relief and Aid Work has direct service delivery model. It provides basic public services for Palestinian refugees, and it employs some 13,000 people in Gaza. Also, Israel has long been harshly critical of UNRWA, alleging it is perpetuating the Palestinian refugee problems and that its schools use textbooks that promote hatred of Israel. In January, Israel accused a dozen of UNRWA's Gaza employees of involvement in the October 7 attack by Hamas, and a series of probes found some neutrality-related issues at UNRWA and determined that 9 employees may have been involved in the October 7 attack, but found no evidence for Israel's chief allegations. Moving on, the United States has warned Iran at the United Nations Security Council on Monday of severe consequences if it undertakes any further aggressive acts against Israel or U.S. personnel in the Middle East. The Security Council met after Israel struck missile factories and other sites in Iran before dawn on Saturday. It was retaliation for Iran's October 1st attack on Israel with about 200 ballistic missiles. Iran's UN ambassador Amir Saeed Iravani accused Washington of being complicit through military support for its ally. Israel's UN ambassador Danny Danon described Israel's strikes on Iran as measured and proportionate and said it would continue to defend itself. While U.S. Ambassador to the UN Linda Thomas-Greenfield told the 15-member council that Washington encouraged the government of Israel to shape the operation as it did.
The United States did not participate in this military operation. Rather, we encouraged the government of Israel to shape the operation as it did. Again, a targeted, proportional, and direct response to degrade Iran's ability to threaten its neighbors, deter further attacks, and reduce the risk of further escalation. Today, the United States' message for Israel remains clear. We will always help secure its people and territory from Iran and its terrorist proxies and partners. Our message for Iran remains clear as well. Should it choose to undertake further aggressive acts against Israel or U.S. personnel in the region, there will be severe consequences. We will not hesitate to act in self-defense.
Well, Israeli Iron Dome defense system intercepted over 100 Hezbollah projectiles that were fired from Lebanon on Monday. While trails of smoke could be seen in the sky above the Israeli-Lebanese border as rockets flew overhead, an Israeli army spokesperson announced that approximately 115 projectiles fired by Hezbollah crossed from Lebanon into Israel. Meanwhile, Israel also continued to strike southern Lebanon. After nearly a year of exchanging fire across the border, Israel intensified its strikes on southern Lebanon and beyond over the last month. Well, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer welcomed Lebanese PM Najib Mikati to the Downing Street on Monday evening. After shaking hands during a photo call, the two leaders sat down before talks and expressed their joint aim to bring ceasefire in the West Asian region, de-escalation of hostilities, and implementing the United Nations Security Council Resolution 1701 in action. According to the UN website, Resolution 1701 is taking steps to ensure peace, among them authorizing an increase of force strength of the UN interim force in Lebanon to a maximum of 15,000 troops that would, among other things, monitor the cessation of hostilities, supporting the Lebanese armed forces as Israel withdrew from southern Lebanon, and ensure the safe return of displaced persons. And moving on to Russia-Ukraine war now, a Russian-guided bomb devastated Kharkiv's iconic Gazprom building on Monday, a 1920s landmark and UNESCO-recognized site, killing 4 and injuring 6 people. This followed an earlier bombing that wounded 13 and a rocket strike in nearby Chuhuiv, injuring 8. In central Kryvyi, a Russian missile hit a residential building, killing one person and injuring at least 11, sparking condemnation from President Zelensky, who urged global action to end the violence. Meanwhile, a drone attack killed a medic in Kherson, where 3 people also died on Sunday. Well, U.S. President Joe Biden condemned North Korea's troop deployment to Russia on Monday, labeling it as a very dangerous move. The statement followed the Pentagon's assurance that it would not impose the new restrictions on Ukraine's use of U.S. weapons if North Korea joins the conflict. NATO confirmed that North Korean troops are stationed in Russia's Kursk region, with Secretary General Mark Rutte warning this alliance threatens both Euro-Atlantic and Indo-Pacific security. The Pentagon estimates 10,000 North Korean soldiers are in eastern Russia, some potentially preparing for combat. Russian President Putin cautioned that any U.S. support for Ukrainian strikes deep into Russia would be a red line. Meanwhile, Ukraine's President Zelensky called the deployment an escalation as North Korea's Foreign Minister Cho Son-hui leaves for Russia amid troop dispatch. And Uruguay is heading for a tight presidential election runoff next month after a first round on Sunday. The first round saw a center-left candidate come top ahead of 2 candidates who split the conservative vote. Official results showed a center-left presidential candidate Yamandu Orsi with some 1.06 million votes. That was well ahead of the ruling conservative coalition's candidate Alvaro Delgado. In third place was Andres Ojeda, who has pledged to back Delgado. The November 24th runoff vote will take place because no candidate got more than 50% of the first round vote. And moving on the sidelines of French President Macron's 3-day official visit to Morocco, France and Morocco signed an agreement seeking to boost initiatives covering sectors like energy, water and education sectors and strengthen bilateral ties, mending relations with the North African country after years of tensions. French President Emmanuel Macron also met Moroccan King Mohammed VI while attending the signing ceremony at the residence of royal guest in Rabat, underscoring deepening relations between the two nations. Well, a tanker carrying about 400,000 barrels of oil departed from Mexico's Pederitos port en route to Cuba, where an acute energy crisis has left the island struggling to keep the lights on, as the island has been grappling with widespread power outages, leaving residents struggling to maintain basic services and businesses operating at reduced capacity. Mexico has been supplying Cuba with crude and fuel since last year. Cuba lost about $13 million daily due to the U.S. embargo of the country. And Bolivia's government has rejected claims by the former president Evo Morales that it ordered a targeted attack on him. Morales says his car came under sustained gunfire on Sunday night in the Cochabamba region in what he condemned as an attempt on his life. But Bolivia's Interior Minister Eduardo del Castillo said the former president's convoy had fled an anti-drugs patrol during which his security team fired at police and ran over an officer. Evo Morales is involved in a power struggle with President Luis Arce over who should be the movement for the Socialism Party's candidate in next year's election. Meanwhile, Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum condemned the assassination attempt on former Bolivian President. Sheinbaum, who stressed the need to avoid violence, took office earlier this month. For weeks, a split between Bolivian President Luis Arce and Morales has grown within the ruling Socialist Party. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Amidst calls by President to take to the streets, people in Georgia protest against the disputed election. Croatia to buy 50 Leopard tanks from Germany in swap for Ukraine.
Who will be the next president of United States of America?
Will Donald Trump make a dramatic comeback, or will Kamala Harris become America's first woman president.
It's a tight race to the White House.
The knives are out and the battle lines sharply drawn.
He's becoming increasingly unstable and unhinged.
She's a threat to democracy because she shouldn't even be the candidate.
I'm Amritpal Singh.
I'm Shubhendu Ghosh.
We travel across the United States
To decode the issues at the heart of this polarized election.
Watch this space only on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Kuran, and moving on, as both Republican and Democratic presidential nominees Donald Trump and Kamala Harris are in tight rope walk just a week before the November 5th polls. They are trying to reach out to new sections and consolidate the old ones.
U.S. presidential Republican candidate Donald Trump on Monday reached out to faith-based leaders in New York. Engaging in a conversation with them, he said that it was religion that was holding the USA. He justified controversial remarks made by him and some of his associates in the Madison Square Garden rally in New York.
Really, people would say a Christian and really religious, even other faiths country. And that seems to be heading in the wrong direction. And I think as that goes down, I think that our country goes down. I really do. I think this is a country that needs religion. It's like the glue that holds it together.
Later, at a rally in Atlanta, Trump lambasted his opponents for belittling his anti-immigration proposals. The remarks at his Madison Square rally on Sunday about Puerto Ricans have been sharply criticized by a white section. On a damage control mode, Trump said that he is not a Nazi.
And yet they use that word freely, both words. They use it, he's Hitler. And then they say, he's a Nazi. I'm not a Nazi. I'm the opposite of a Nazi. I don't know.
While Trump and his associates' comments about immigrants may or may not be a part of a clear-cut strategy, it has certainly given ammunition to the opposition. Democratic nominee and US Vice President Kamala Harris came out heavily against comments, calling them divisive.
I think last night Donald Trump's event in Madison Square Garden really highlighted a point that I've been making throughout this campaign. He is focused and actually fixated on his grievances, on himself, and on dividing our country. And it is not in any way something that will strengthen the American family, the American worker. It is nothing about what he is saying that is actually going to support the aspirations, the dreams, and the ambitions of the American people.
Harris also addressed a rally in Michigan with factory workers of a semiconductor plant. She promised workers better facilities if she comes to power. There too, she attacked Trump for his garbage remarks.
Just kind of diminishing who we are as America. And talking down at people. Talking about, I don't know, that we're the garbage can of the world. We're not.
In a separate Michigan rally with his running mate Tim Walz in Ann Arbor, she said consequences of Donald Trump becoming the president will be brutal.
I do believe Donald Trump to be an unserious man. But the consequences of him ever being president again are brutally serious. Brutally serious. Consider, on the topic we were just discussing, Donald Trump still refuses to acknowledge the pain and suffering he has caused.
Harris and Trump are neck to neck in the polls of battleground states that will most certainly determine the winner in the US presidential poll. Akhilesh Suman's report for DD India.
Well, investigations have been launched after ballot drop box fires in Washington and Oregon. In shocking incidents, ballot boxes have been found burning that were kept for dropping the ballot papers sent by emails. Fire were detected coming out with smokes. Even ballots were seen burnt and police trying to douse the fire on the ballots. The fire took place in two places, Washington and Oregon. Police later told a press conference that these fires were similar in nature and they are investigating about the incidents.
At approximately 3 a.m., officers responded to reports of a fire at a ballot box right outside the building that we're in right now. By the time officers arrived, I can tell you that security personnel in the area had already extinguished the fire.
Well, as the November 5th presidential elections draw near, contenders Donald Trump and Kamala Harris are entering the crucial final phase of the electoral race. Amid this intense competition, 5 key issues continue to dominate the conversation. Diptanshu Kashyap brings the latest on what's at stake.
As the US presidential election approaches, key issues are shaping the race. The 5 critical topics at stake are the economy, immigration, abortion, foreign politics, and climate change. Republican candidate Donald Trump aims to impose tariffs over 10% on US imports and has launched a cryptocurrency platform promoting his vision for the economy. In contrast, Democratic candidate Kamala Harris focuses on the middle class, advocating for an opportunity economy with moderate tax hikes for the wealthy and incentives like child tax credits. On immigration, Trump supports a hardline approach, including mass deportations and building a border wall for national security. Harris, meanwhile, favors a strong immigration policy, emphasizing investing in barriers and balancing security with humane treatment, aligning with Biden's approach. Reproductive rights have become a focal point since the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. Trump claims credit for the justice behind the decision and suggests further restrictions on medical abortion. Meanwhile, Kamala Harris seeks to restore nationwide abortion rights and will have voters decide on amendments regarding access in several states. In foreign politics, Trump promises swift resolution to conflict in Ukraine and West Asia. He has criticized US funding of Ukraine's push against Russia. Kamala Harris pledges ongoing support for Ukraine, emphasizing humanitarian aid. On climate, Trump dismisses climate change as a hoax and announced the withdrawal of the US from the Paris Climate Accord in June 2017. Meanwhile, Harris supports the Inflation Reduction Act to enhance green energy investments. With these pivotal issues, voters have a crucial decision to make on November 5th. Diptanshu Kashyap's report for DD India.
Well, as Americans gear up to vote in the U.S. presidential elections on November 5th, opinion polls and surveys reflect that Donald Trump and Kamala Harris are locked in a tight race. Their campaigns thus are focused more on the electorally important swing states. While Trump campaigned in Georgia on Monday, Kamala Harris and her running mate Tim Walz held rallies in Michigan. DD India correspondent Amritpal Singh reports from Pennsylvania, which one of the key 7 swing states in this election.
With just days left for the November 5th election, both Kamala Harris and Donald Trump are neck and neck in most of the swing states, especially in Pennsylvania, where I am right now. It holds 19 of the electoral college votes, and that's why you see both candidates focusing their energies on this state. It can't get closer in the Penn state as state swings. In 2016, Donald Trump took it from Hillary Clinton by just a 0.7 percentage difference. Biden snatched it from Trump in 2020, but by a margin of 1.2 percentage points. This time around, both candidates are neck and neck. The difference is just 0.5 percentage points. November 5th will decide how Pennsylvania votes. Once it was reliably Democratic, but not anymore. It swings every election. So Pennsylvania is important, followed, of course, by Georgia and North Carolina, which hold, and Michigan, they hold most seats. Nevada, Arizona, they are smaller states, but all the swing states are important for both candidates because this election's outcome will be decided by these swing states because the other ones remain or continue to remain blue and red as they were in the last election and the election before that. With cameraman Sanjay Jaina, this is Amritpal Singh in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Well, the issue of abortion rights lies at the heart of the U.S. presidential elections. There is a separate amendment on abortion rights which is up for vote across several states. Between the tussle of pro-choice and pro-life sides, the outcome of the vote is expected to shape the future of women's identity and reproductive rights. DD India correspondent Shubheda Ghosh reports for more.
These presidential elections are turning out to be one of the most polarized in recent American history. Alongside the vote for the White House, The vote on amendment over the sensitive issue of abortion is also there. The outcome could have significant physical, emotional and social ramification for women in particular and the society in general. One side, pro-choice, believes it is about the fundamental right of women over their own body. The other side, pro-life, says they are fighting for the rights of the unborn child. The amendment on abortion or Amendment 4 states that no law shall prohibit, penalize, delay or restrict abortion before viability or when necessary to protect the patient's health as determined by the patient's healthcare provider.
It's been a contentious issue really for decades, since the 1980s and the 1990s. But I think what made it really come to the fore in this election was the repeal of the Roe versus Wade decision, Supreme Court decision, which had allowed abortion access all across the United States. When that decision was overturned by the Supreme Court, each state could decide for itself, and it threw the issue back into the public sphere.
As early voting continues across Florida and other states, voters appear divided over the issue of abortion.
My beliefs line up more with pro-life, and so I'm voting for what most people are not in agreement for, because I do believe that every life deserves to have a chance to speak for themselves.
I have family members, mom, sisters, and they should have the right to be able to choose.
Whether it's pro or against, it's going to be the voice of the people that come through.
Last week, Kamala Harris took a detour from the barnstorming the battleground states with stops in Texas, a conservative state that was first to implement a near-total abortion ban. Texas hasn't backed a Democratic president since 1976, and Republican Donald Trump is almost certain to win the state's 40 electoral college votes. But Democrats are betting it provided a powerful backdrop for Vice President Harris's vision for abortion rights in the final days before the November 5th elections. With camera person Jay Shankar, Shubhendu Ghosh's report, DD India, Miami, Florida.
Well, thousands of protesters gathered outside the Georgian parliament after the country's president and opposition parties called for protest against the result of a Saturday election. The four main opposition parties that won seats in parliament also said they did not recognize the results and that they would boycott the chamber. President Salom Zourabichvili had urged people to take to the streets after the results were announced. The country's government and electoral commission have said the vote was free and fair, while election observers have said there were significant violations. Georgia's Prime Minister has hailed the election result, rejecting allegations of vote rigging and violence. Meanwhile, the U.S. State Department said the United States joined calls from election observers for a full investigation of all reports of election-related violations in Georgia. State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller said that Washington does not have a final assessment of the results, but did not rule out further consequences if the Georgian government's direction does not change. And Croatia will buy up to 50 Leopard 2A8 tanks from Germany in order to be able to replace Soviet-era tanks that it will be in turn sent to Ukraine. Croatia's Defense Minister Ivan Anušić said that after meeting with his German counterpart in Berlin, that by acquiring the Leopard 2A8 tanks, Croatia could then deliver 30 battle tanks and 30 infantry fighting vehicles to Ukraine by the end of 2024. In a letter of intent signed by Anušić and German Defense Minister Boris Pistorius, both countries also agreed to send spare parts and ammunition from Croatian stocks to Ukraine, with financial support from Germany to be used for the Leopards. And still to come on DD India News Hour. GE Aerospace to supply engines for Tejas to HAL, engines to be delivered by March. Ahead of Diwali, Delhi's air quality continues to be the very poor category. And we'll show you how India the world dazzles for Diwali and unites communities in joy, peace and hope.
complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, and time now for a quick recap of the headlines. Israel bans the United Nations Agency for Palestinian Refugees from operating on its territory. US and other allies express concern. US says North Korea has entered Ukraine conflict by sending 10,000 troops to Russia. US decides not to impose new limits on Ukraine's use of arms. Anxiety grips the US as campaigning for the general elections enters final week. Trump and Harris focus on pivotal battleground states that may decide the race for the White House. Big boost for India's healthcare sector. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to launch multiple projects on the occasion of 9th Ayurveda Day. Well, moving on, giving a boost to India's healthcare sector on the occasion of Dhanvantari Jayanti and 9th Ayurveda Day, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will launch, inaugurate and lay the foundation stone of multiple projects related to the health sector worth around 12,850 crore rupees at All India Institute of Ayurveda in the national capital. Prime Minister will launch expansion of health coverage to all senior citizens aged 70 years and above. Prime Minister will inaugurate and lay the foundation stone of multiple health institutions. Prime Minister will also inaugurate phase 2 of India's first All India Institute of Ayurveda. He will also lay the foundation stone of 5 nursing colleges in Madhya Pradesh. Prime Minister will launch the U-Win portal, which will benefit pregnant women and infants by fully digitalizing the vaccination process. Steps to strengthen the R&D and testing infrastructure to improve the healthcare ecosystem in the country will also be taken. Well, in a major milestone for India's defence manufacturing sector, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, along with President of Government of Spain, Pedro Sanchez, inaugurated India's first private facility for producing C-295 military aircraft in Vadodara. This new facility is set to enhance India's defence capabilities and create an ecosystem for military aviation. Let's take a look at the specifics of C-295 program.
The inauguration of the C-295 military aircraft manufacturing facility in Vadodara marks India's private sector's entry into defence aircraft production. Prime Minister Narendra Modi had led the foundation stone for the Vadodara final assembly line in October 2022. Under the project, India is set to acquire 56 of these versatile aircraft. 16 complete units are being delivered by Airbus directly from Spain, while the remaining 40 units will be made in India by Tata Advanced Systems Limited. The facility in Vadodara is a significant step forward, becoming India's first private final assembly line for a military aircraft. With Tata Advanced Systems leading the manufacturing process, the project will involve assembling, testing, qualification, and maintenance, establishing a full life cycle ecosystem for the C-295 aircraft in India. The benefits are further distributed across many companies in the defense spectrum. Bharat Electronics Limited, Bharat Dynamics Limited, and various MSMEs are also contributing to the program. The C-295 aircraft is a next-generation tactical airlift aircraft equipped to carry up to 9.5 tons of cargo and operate under all-weather conditions. Its short takeoff and landing abilities make it highly adaptable even on unmatted surfaces, enabling quick deployment of troops and cargo for rapid response. The Rs 21,935 crore project between India and Airbus Spain aims to replace the aging Avro fleet in the Indian Air Force with the modern C-295MW aircraft. This aircraft will strengthen India's air transport and operational readiness, making a major advancement in India's journey towards self-reliance in defense manufacturing. With the Vadodara facility in place, India's defense manufacturing sector has taken a crucial step towards self-reliance as well as in the field of Make in India and Make for the World objectives. Bureau Report, DD India.
Well, American aerospace company GE Aerospace will finally supply engines for Tejas to Hindustan Aeronautics Limited by March next year. According to the Indian defense sources, GE would supply F404 engines for Tejas light combat aircraft LCA Mk1A program by March 2025. The supply shall finally clear the bottleneck and pave the way for the timely execution of 48,000 crore rupees contract for 83 jets. HAL is expected to deliver 16 Tejas to the Indian Air Force in the financial year 2024-25. Well, over 150 people were severely injured in Virarkavu Anjutambalam temple in Kerala. The incident took place during the Kaliyattam Theyyam festival when firecracker collection meant for the festival caught fire from nearby sparks. The incident occurred at midnight and most of the injuries happened as the crowd tried to escape from the site. The true extent of the accident is yet to be unraveled while officials reached the site for further rescue efforts. And we have Ajay Joy joining us on phone line from Thiruvananthapuram. Well, Ajay, what is the situation right now there? Get us the latest.
Nivatri, at the temple venue, things are all in order right now, but the real scene will be at hospitals where the injured are being treated. Even as per the latest update, 8 remain still critically injured. So we are just hoping that there won't be any lost lives in this incident. In the meantime, district administration and the police have taken steps against the lapse in safety protocols at this temple venue. As it was mentioned earlier, the firecracker storage area was well within the temple premise itself, and firecrackers were burst very nearby, which is not allowed as per any safety measures. And that spark resulted the storage area to explode as well. And there were thousands of people assembled in the temple premises. It's basically a ritual dance performance where the deity himself is represented by the same performer. So it is a grand festival for the people in this region. So there were thousands of people assembled in that small ground around this small temple. So essentially there is a huge lapse in the safety protocols, and collector has already mentioned that the festival committee people didn't take permission from district administration for such firework display, etc. Even for the storage area they have to take permission, and that has not been taken. So that's the situation right now. 2 people are already taken into custody, the president and secretary of the festival committee in this area, Nileswaram area.
Right. Ajay, also could you tell us how is the rescue work going on there?
No, rescue work is over completely because if you can see the visuals from around the temple right now, things are all in order right now. There is nothing, there are no longer any rescue operations right now. Only the investigation part is pending. Samples have been collected from the area to assess if there was any huge lapse. Definitely there is a lapse, but what's the extent of the lapse in the safety measures, that is being gauged right now. And for sure there will be strict actions that's demanded from the district administration.
All right, Ajay, thank you so much for all those details from there. And moving on, the last day for candidates to file their nominations closes on October 29th for the upcoming Maharashtra Assembly elections, which will be held in a single phase on the 20th of November. The deadline to withdraw nominations is November 4th. Results for the 288 Assembly constituencies will be announced on November 23rd, along with those from Jharkhand, which votes on November 13th and 20th. On Monday, Maharashtra Chief Minister Eknath Shinde, Deputy Chief Minister Ajit Pawar and Senior Congress leader Vijay Vaditavar submitted their nomination papers for the elections. Meanwhile, despite Tuesday being the last day for filling nominations, the ruling Mahayuti government and the Mahavikas Aghadi alliance led by Congress, Sharad Pawar's NCP and Uddhav Thackeray's Shiv Sena have yet to reach a final decision on seat sharing. And days before Diwali, Delhi's air quality continues to be in the very poor category, posing significant health risk to the residents. The National Green Tribunal has issued notices to the Delhi Police Commissioner and Traffic Commissioner to file a response detailing the actions taken to control vehicular pollution. It also observed that a transparent process should be followed to invoke different stages of the graded action response plan. Meanwhile, in response to the worsening air quality, the centre urged state governments on Saturday to intensify their crop residue management measures to reduce pollution from stubble burning, a major contributing factor to air pollution during this season. And India and the world light up for Diwali, a festival celebrating the triumph of light over darkness. From traditional rituals to global gatherings, Diwali unites communities in joy, peace and hope. Nancy Baloda brings us more on this.
Lights, lamps, laughter and hope. That's Diwali, a festival rooted in Indian tradition, yet celebrated by millions across borders and cultures. So why does this festival of lights resonate with so many? And what are the beautiful ways people bring Diwali to life? Diwali is more than just a celebration. It's a time when streets glow with the light of countless earthen lamps, fireworks light up the night sky, and families gather to celebrate love, peace and hope. Celebration of Diwali marks the return of Lord Ram to Ayodhya after a 14-year exile. On a moonless night, the people of Ayodhya lit lamps to guide him back, a tradition kept alive today with rows of oil lamps symbolizing the victory of light over darkness and good over evil. Diwali is more than a one-day celebration. It unfolds over 5 days, each rich with unique rituals and significance. Dhanteras, the first day, sees families buying new household items or jewelry to invite prosperity. Choti Diwali, the second day, celebrates the triumph of good over evil, with people bathing early, decorating their homes and preparing sweets to share. The main day of Diwali is marked by lighting diyas, exchanging gifts and worshipping Goddess Lakshmi for health and happiness in the coming year. The fourth day, Govardhan Puja, celebrates the importance of respecting nature and appreciating its resources. Bhai Dooj concludes with a day dedicated to sibling bonds, as brothers and sisters exchange blessings and gifts in a spirit of love and unity. Diwali also has a deep spiritual meaning, celebrating the awakening of the inner light within each of us. People decorate their homes with rangolis, share sweets, exchange gifts, and offer prayers to Goddess Lakshmi, the goddess of wealth, hoping for prosperity in the year ahead. Nancy Baloda's report for DD India.
Well, as Diwali approaches, a growing number of consumers are turning to local handmade products to celebrate the Festival of Lights. This trend, known as Vocal for Local, aims to support Indian artisans, boost the local economy and preserve traditional craftsmanship. Here's more on how this Diwali locally made products are lighting up homes across India.
This Diwali, the spirit of Vocal for Local is transforming the way people shop for the festive season. With a rise in demand for Indian-made products, the spotlight is on small businesses and local artisans producing everything from handcrafted decor to eco-friendly diyas.
हमारे ये कलर्स हमने अपने हाथों से बनाई है, वॉल हैंगिंग से हाथ की बनी हुई है और दिए हैं डेकोरेट किए हुए हैं हमारे हाथ से और कुछ हमने ये तोरण बनाई है जो हमारे हाथ की बनी हुई है जो देखने में बहुत सुंदर भी है और अच्छी सेल भी हो जाती है हमारी अपने हाथ की बनी हुई।
These artisans here, they are selling such beautiful things, handmade things, which is so eco-friendly. And being with them and seeing their artwork in our festival would definitely highlight my festival and make my festival so lighted and bright.
I just opt for going for these handmade products made by these local people.
You prefer those?
I prefer those instead of going to the malls, buying say imported stuff and all. I prefer buying it from them.
In the last few years, the Indian government's initiative, Vocal for Local, has encouraged businesses to promote regional crafts, boosting India's economic self-reliance. From terracotta lamps to handmade sweets and textiles, consumers have a wide range of quality and locally made products to choose from.
With millions celebrating Diwali with locally made products, the Vocal for Local campaign is helping to revitalize the Indian traditional art forms and supporting the India's economical resilience. This festive season, the true glow of Diwali shines not just in homes but also in the lives of the local artisans across the country. With video journalist Praveen Sharma, along with Kriti Vadera, this is Sumana Bati Revana Siddhappa from New Delhi reporting for DD India.
Well, US President Joe Biden marked the start of India's most important festival of the year, Diwali, by warmly praising Vice President Kamala Harris in the White House. The event marked the celebration in the White House, reflecting the festive spirit of Diwali. The celebration not only honored the traditions of Diwali, but also served as a reminder of the unity and strength found in diversity, reinforcing the White House's commitment to inclusivity and respect for all cultures. And NASA astronaut Sunita Williams, who spent almost 5 months in space, sent her best wishes for Hindu festival Diwali to people in the United States and around the world. In a video message from the International Space Station, she shared that this year she had the special chance to celebrate Diwali from 260 miles above the Earth. She also remembered how her father worked hard to keep their cultural traditions alive by teaching her and her family about Diwali and other Indian festivals. Williams also expressed gratitude to US President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris for their participation in the Diwali festivities. Notably, Sunita Williams, along with her fellow astronaut Butch Wilmore, have been at the ISS since June and will return in February next year. And time now for a short break. We'll be back in a while.
Who will be the next president of United States of America?
Will Donald Trump make a dramatic comeback, or will Kamala Harris become America's first woman president?
It's a tight race to the White House.
The knives are out and the battle lines sharply drawn.
He's becoming increasingly unstable and unhinged.
She's a threat to democracy because she shouldn't even be the candidate.
I'm Amritpal Singh.
I'm Shubhendu Ghosh.
We travel across the United States
to decode the issues at the heart of this polarized election.
Watch this space only on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lepakshi Kuran, and on to some business news now. Asian stocks were mixed in volatile trading on Tuesday as investors girded for 3 days of tech mega-cap earnings reports on Wall Street. The dollar drifted not far from a 3-month high as US election entered its final stretch, with opinion polls still too close to call a winner. The yen recorded a 3-month low as the coalition government's drubbing in weekend elections clouded the outlook for Japanese fiscal and monetary policies. Crude value also ticked up slightly following its plunge on Monday. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index also clinched a milestone after peaking at 0.65% higher. And Boeing on Monday launched a stock offering that could raise up to $22 billion as the plane maker looks to strengthen its finances squeezed by an over-month-long strike by its workers and preserve its investment-grade credit rating. The move will boost Boeing's battered finances, which have worsened since roughly 33,000 of its workers, represented by the machinist union, walked off their jobs in September, halting production of models including its cash cow 737 MAX aircraft. The company is offering 90 million shares in common stock and $5 billion in mandatory convertible securities. Well, you're watching DD India News Hour. Time now for some sports news. With the series level at 1-1, Harmanpreet Kaur-led India will take on New Zealand women in the third and final ODI in Ahmedabad on Sunday. Indian women started the three-match series on a high note as the host claimed the first ODI by 59 runs. However, the White Ferns clawed back into the series with a dominating 76-run victory in the second game. Both the sides will aim to put in their best performances and clinch the series by winning the deciding match. The Indian women will hope to replicate their showing from the first game and avoid any blunders. And Manchester United have sacked manager Erik ten Hag after a disastrous start to the season. Former striker Ruud Nistelrooy has been named the interim boss. United dropped to a lowly 14th position in the points table after suffering their fourth defeat in 9 league games on Sunday. They won only one of their last 8 games in all competitions. They are also 21st of 36 teams in the Europa League table, having drawn their 3 opening fixtures. Ten Hag's position had been repeatedly called into question when the club finished 8th in the Premier League last season. Well, London hosted a giant interactive multiplayer Tetris game to celebrate its 40th anniversary. The event was one of the biggest multiplayer Tetris game to ever take place. The games were open to the public for free and participants scanned a QR code and downloaded an app to take part. All right, that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. Well, we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lepakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.